Remember when we made a video about blue Takis pasta and how absolutely disgusting and totally unhealthy it is? Or what about when we told you all about fake flavors made with Beavers' ass goo? Icky, right? But what if we told you there's something even more disgusting, even more sloppy, more icky, and even more unhealthy than you could ever imagine? Food so bad, it doesn't even look like food. Sounds wild, doesn't it? Well, tie your gym shorts, grab your lunch trays, and say goodbye to your appetite because we're taking you back to school. We're going to dig deep into the sloppy joes and expose the truth behind scammy school food. Hold on to your tissues, folks, because this Foodspiracy is going to put your bowels in a spiral. Once you hear what they're feeding your children, you're gonna need a break that isn't lunch break. Ready to eat something absolutely repulsive? Great! Let's get right to it. So, if you went to a good school where they served you actual food, or you just have no idea what the heck American school lunches look like, let's paint the horrifying picture. Oily breadsticks with nasty cheese on it, suspiciously thick milk, undercooked chicken that's actually supposed to be used for pet food, hard as rock burger buns and slop that no one actually really knows what's in it. It's nasty to look at, and even nastier to eat, and those school lunches deserve to go to one place: the trash. Seriously, no one's going to eat that, not even the students it was made for. And that's why schools have seen a 50% increase in the amount of lunchroom trash. Newsflash, it's only going to increase. But why is it like this?
What the hell is this? Chocolate milk mix? I knew Kenny couldn't fit in that teapot. It was a trick.
No sane, healthy adult is going to drink thick chocolate milk from the bag or suspect chicken, so why feed it to children? Why subject young, growing minds to whatever the hell that is? Well, you can't spell Foodspiracy without food, and this food is crazy terrible. Newsflash, it's all because of even more terrible politics, lobbying, and corporations that want you to be bigger and chunkier than Moto. So let's put our aliens conspiracy cream right here. We weren't kidding when we said school lunches look like something Grimace chewed up and spat out because of politics. So let's take it from the top with a history lesson. The year was 1945. America had just finished dropping the atomic bomb on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Japan surrendered, making the end of World War II, and everyone was happy. War over? Yay! Right? Wrong. Because not exactly everyone was happy. You see, the war being over didn't mean everything was topsy-turvy. There was still one issue chewing on the US government's leg like a dog on a bone: malnutrition. Thing is, the Great Depression hit in 1929 and everyone was basically forced to get by with water pies, peanut loaves, canned prunes, and other cheap and definitely not balanced foods. 10 years later, the war starts, and by the end of it, no one looks healthy. We're talking weak and tired Jack Skellington looking kind of unhealthy. With peace being shaky and the Cold War putting everyone on edge, the US needed big, muscly men to fight, and fast. Problem was, no one had the meat on their bones for all of that. General Lewis B. Hershey, the head of the military draft system back then, said 40% of military recruits were failing their fitness exams due to malnutrition. He was also a former school principal who joined the armed forces before World War I, so when he went back to the House Agriculture Committee to basically tell them, dudes, if we don't feed these kids fast, the Soviet is going to eat us up like aliens invading. They listened. Come June 4th, 1946, and the government launched the National School Lunch Act. In their words, it was a matter of national security to safeguard the health and well-being of the nation's children. But that's just fancy talk for feed them kids up and ship them off. So the government started sending food to schools all over the country, and it was a good thing. Well, not good for the animals that were getting chowed down, but for the parents who needed a break from making lunch for their kids, and for those who couldn't afford to. For the government who needed a place to dump all that agricultural surplus farmers had no idea what to do with, and for the kids who got to eat cheesy dippers for lunch. It was a win-win-win. And as a bonus, the US got all the healthy little troopers, and America became one of the biggest military superpowers. Everyone was happy, and the school lunch program kept expanding. By 1969, 15% of American kids were eating lunch for free or at a high discount. In the mid-1970s, Nixon poured more money into the program. The program grew to incorporate the school breakfast program, the child and adult food care program, and even the special milk program. Now, everything was topsy-turvy, right as rain, as perfect as aliens coming down and showing that they do, in fact, come in peace. That was until 1981 when fake meat hit the fan. That's when Ronald Reagan cut the program funding by around 25%. That was huge. It meant that schools couldn't afford to feed one little gremlin in every 4. They had less cash, but they still had all those grubby little hungry mouths to feed. So what were they going to do? Cut salaries? Remove a couple of classes? Stop building that new gym? What? Well, while schools were scrambling around trying to figure out how to save their skins and feed the kids, big food companies were cooking up a not-so-delicious plan. They were Beavers. Get it? Believer. Okay, we'll stop. They believed that all those schools with a problem were an opportunity to make a whole lot of green that wasn't lettuce, so they began striking special exclusivity deals with American schools. Basically, they provide all that obviously unhealthy bread, chips, and pizza for the young minds of America, and for every sale, the school got a very healthy cut, and that was a good thing. Well, not for the children forced to eat crap every day, but for the corporations looking to make more money and the schools desperately in need of money and food. So, kids in France are straight up eating 4-course meals for lunch, starting off with fresh vegetables or salad, followed by something like salmon served up with more veggies, then jam, fresh bread and cheese, and then of course, dessert. Kids in Japan are scarfing down healthy rice, fish, and veggies, and kids in Korea are eating healthy portions of meats, starches, and vegetables. We're talking rice, soup, kimchi, and marinated pork. And while all that's going on, American kids are eating pure garbage, wrapped in garbage and served on a platter of more garbage. Yum! But where's the USDA in all this? Surely the government wouldn't approve junk food for kids, right? Right? If you know anything about the American food industry, you'll know that if companies can get away with bending the rules, they will. And while the USDA decided just how much sodium, sugar, and fat should be fed to kids, food companies took one look at it and went, yeah, we're not doing that. Thing is, feeding school kids healthy food is expensive as heck. Remember all those yummy fruits and veggies that keep you healthy and strong? Yeah, getting them in schools was a real hassle. Back in the 2009 school year, school counties across the country spent $240,000 on fruits and vegetables. And let's not even talk about the fact that the price was increased to a mind-blowing $1 million later on. Worst still, fruits and veggies are difficult to store. They go bad faster than the flash on a discount sale, and that's not great for when you're trying to feed hundreds of students in a school term. To top it all off, kids don't even like veggies. Broccoli? Yuck. Give us greasy fried chicken any day, anytime. So schools were spending all this money on food that would only end up in the bin, and with the funding cuts, they needed the breather that food companies gave them. But there was still the pesky little USDA hanging around, telling them what they could and couldn't serve kids. Like, who the heck did they think they were? Big Food wanted to make kids fat, and they would if they had anything to say about it. Lucky for them, back in 1975, the USDA loosened their rules, so school lunches only had to meet the minimum requirement of healthy. And by minimum, we mean plankton tiny minimum. In the words of one official, if a candy bar has only one nut in it, we feel it is above our minimum nutrient standard. Yikes. With rules like those, food companies went wild with serving school children just almost whatever. Eventually, the government noticed that kids were turning into Fat Albert, so they tightened up the rules. Seriously, with the fact that between 1980 and 2009, obesity rates in teenagers went from 5% to 18% sitting on their plates like rock-hard burger buns. They had to do something. So something they did, and it got Big Food pissed enough to find loopholes. We weren't kidding when we said the food they were feeding kids absolutely could pass as nuclear waste garbage. Take Domino's Smart Slice Pizza for example. It's sold in over 13,000 schools in the US, and Domino's swear it's different from their regular pizza and healthy enough to feed kids. Scout's honor. Yeah, we're not buying that lie. Sure, it has 33% less fat and 50% less sodium than their regular pizza. It also has soybean oil as an ingredient. To put things into an anime clear perspective, soybean oil is a seed oil, and while it's actually good for you in regulated quantities, remember kids are eating it every day on crappy processed pizza. In that case, kids have an increased risk of diabetes, including type 2 diabetes caused by high blood glucose levels, liver diseases, immune toxicity, and other heart diseases. Delicious toxic pizza. What's more, maltodextrin is part of the ingredients, is a food additive that could cause blood sugar level spikes as well as increase the likelihood of developing autoimmune disorders, including Crohn's disease. Another ingredient is sodium propionate, a preservative that has been shown to cause damage to the dopamine system in animal subjects. Additionally, the food makes kids dumber. Roland Zullo, a researcher at the University of Michigan, found that schools that served junk from private companies had lower test scores than schools who cooked food from scratch. Yay! Smart Slice pizza that makes kids dumber and fatter. Companies were really serious about finding those loopholes. You see, one of the USDA's requirements was that schools offer at least 2 servings of fruits and vegetables every meal, and the students should pick one. So big food companies looked at the fine print and went, what exactly is a fruit and vegetable? Well, ketchup is basically tomato juice, and tomatoes are a fruit. Yes, they are. We did the research. So these food companies went, well, ketchup equals fruit. Same with pizza sauce. Problem solved. The USDA said snacks and entrees needed to be significantly lower in salt, sugar, and fat. Easy. Instead of giving kids something healthier than a salty bag of chips, just make the bag smaller. Bingo! You've met USDA standards. If you thought all that sounds bad, wait until you hear the next part. Ever heard of Lunchables? You probably have. More ultra-processed, pre-packaged lunch for kids masquerading as something healthy. Lunchables contain glyphosate sprayed wheat. Glyphosate has been labeled as a carcinogen, and if you don't know, carcinogens are chemicals that cause cancer. They also contain sodium phosphate, an emulsifier that has been linked to kidney disease, and last but not the least, there's sodium nitrates in there, and those are linked to heart disease, diabetes, and higher rates of breast and prostate cancer. Not as fun as Lunchables want you to think. This cool lunch scam has been going on for long enough, and it doesn't look like it's going to stop anytime soon. After all, big food is making big bucks from it, and it's not just fast food giants like Papa John's, Little Caesars, and Pizza Hut that are raking in the green. Bulk food manufacturers like US Foods, Tyson, and Sysco also get that cold, green, brought about by children falling sick cash. No money from the government meant schools couldn't train chefs, so they turned to canned, highly processed food, which aren't any better than fast food. Want to know how much big food companies earn from kids eating canned food and processed chicken nuggies? About $20 billion a year. That's how much the school lunch business makes them, all at the cost of kids' health. Food companies want your kids so addicted to their junk that they keep coming back for more. Then you get obese kids who end up dying from cancer. But they don't care. The corps make money, the schools get a cut, and the only ones losing are the ones scarfing down the nuggies. Back to school, onto the lunch trays, and into the trash.